But my name is Brandon, and I met Dylan a week and a half ago through an event that I hosted with the other Brandon G and my friend Brett, and we talked about A to B Con. I do a little bit of public speaking for my Instagram because I'm in the lending space, so that's how I really promote myself. And I'm a huge fan of personal development, and I think that's really how we clicked.
Yeah.
And you have an incredible story which really touched me right away.
Yeah.
And oddly enough,
We have some
yesterday we met up for coffee, so the world works full circle.
It does.
And it's pretty cool.
It is, and it's great because you don't know who's in the room. I mean, my mentor, the other Brandon G, when I first got in rooms with people who thought bigger than me and were doing bigger things than me, I was more concerned with the people on stage and backstage that I need to talk to. They need to know who I am. And he told me, Dylan, you really got to know that the people backstage and on stage really aren't really as important as people who could be sitting next to you. And when he said that, that changed a lot for me, and that brings me to amazing people like Brandon, because us meeting, I almost didn't make it that other night, but I knew that if I went, I say this all the time, like there's so many times when doubt gets into my head, like, oh, you got all these other things to do, is it worth it, will you get it out of it? But just show up, just seriously show up. When you show up into an environment that thinks bigger than you, wants things better for you, will help you, where they want to uplift you together as a community, everything changes. Energy is really a currency, I think you would agree.
Definitely.
Where you can feel who somebody's about, what they're about, how they will move before they open their mouth. And when they open their mouth, they'll usually reiterate and solidify what you're feeling between the energy between the two.
Definitely, and I think you're incredibly well-spoken, and you've come a long way for your time on Earth. And I think it's amazing to your point that you never know what will happen when you just show up. I went to a real estate conference 2 months ago in Atlantic City, and one of the people that I met there, they introduced me to a potential prospect for a pretty substantial deal that needs to be financed. I can't speak too much about it, but it's very, very substantial. It'll be the biggest loan of my career if I close it, which is amazing. And I was really hesitant about going because it's all the way down in Atlantic City. I'll have to take off a day from work. But I just met one person, and it could change
Your life.
Exactly.
I love what you said in regards to hesitant, because every time the doubt or fear struck the first time it ever happened, I said no. And the second time was when I met a producer, Carl Michelle. I said yes, invested $300, and I didn't know that you could take $300 and change your life. I know he went negative on that. We talked about it the other day because he gave me 12 episodes and production crew, everything. But that goes back to showing up. You become a product of your environment in the room that you're in, because when you are vibrating at a higher frequency, those who are with you will also uplift you. You can't take everybody with you, which is something that I really learned, and I couldn't. It was hard for me because I had to learn the hard way, because I lost people who I thought were close to me, but when you don't see eye to eye, level to level, something that Carl reminded me of is everybody can see forward in what is in front of us, but they can't all see your vision because it's yours. They'd have to take your glasses and put them on, but they're in your head, so not everybody can see it. So you have to trust the process. And every time I'm scared, nervous, or hesitant, like you said, I know it means I have to do it. And it's not once not paid off, over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like what you said too, that there's certain people that you might not speak with currently because they don't have the same expectations, or they don't want the same things out of life as you do, which that's a perfectly okay thing, right?
Yeah.
Because we shouldn't let our geography determine our network. Just because we went to school with certain people, just because we work with certain people, does not mean we have to consistently associate with these people. If you really want the most out of life, obviously they say your network is your net worth. But you have to be super proactive,
yes,
and super specific about the kinds of people that you want to meet.
And when
is imperative.
when you talk about people you want to meet, a lot of times you gotta figure what you want to do, right? When you figure that out, you have to find out who has the results you want. And then the next step is find out where they are speaking next, or where you can meet them next, or where you can see them next. Little poke, little poke. They see your face, you talk to them for 2 seconds. You go to another event, you little poke, you talk to them for 2 seconds. Next event, and then originally they'll be like, oh wow, like it happened with my mentor Brandon with Alex Martin. They had a great conversation in Miami. He's like, oh wow, I do remember you from years ago at this other event. And it helps, but the biggest thing is that first impression. I know they're big because if the first impression isn't unforgettable in every good way possible and doesn't touch somebody in a certain way where you're unforgettable, you're stuck in the people pile. When you're stuck in the people pile, you're just another fan asking for a picture.